All right, welcome back. So as we approach the heart of holiday travel season, a new NBC News exclusive with shocking statistics from the nation's airports. The TSA says it confiscated a record 6,300 guns at checkpoints so far. That number expected to reach 6,600 by the end of the year. That would be a 10% increase from last year. And another frightening note, most of those guns were in fact loaded. And the prospect of flying with loaded guns on board is not the only thing that passengers should have concerns about. Airlines are currently lobbying the FAA to consider having only one pilot on some flights. Federal regulations currently require 2 pilots in the cockpit at all times. Airlines arguing the move will help solve the staffing problem caused by a pilot shortage and that technological advancement has made single pilot flights safe. But to cite just one example, last month, the captain of an American Eagle flight from Chicago to Columbus became incapacitated after takeoff. The co-pilot had to take over. Take a listen.
Can I help you?
6, we need to return. Captain is incapacitated.
Did you have any information I need to pass along to the tower in terms of paramedics, gate number, any of that?
No gate number, and he's knocked out. We're going to need paramedics working on everything right now.
Okay, thank you.
Sadly, that flight's captain died later on at the hospital. Sara Nelson is the international president of the Association of Flight Attendants and is joining me now. I got to say, when I heard this idea of what airlines are lobbying for, right, to help with the staffing issues and all the delays that we've been feeling and while traveling, I was astounded, really. Tell me why you oppose this idea.
Yasmin, the regulations that we have in place in aviation are there because they've typically been written in blood. And we need 2 pilots on board the plane for the situation that you just talked about. We also need 2 pilots there to be able to work with each other. If you talk to Captain Sullenberger about his experience of making a decision that no computer would have helped him make in landing on the Hudson, that would have been a catastrophic amount of casualties rather than the success story that we know it to be. There are numerous stories where you have to have the human beings in the cockpit. And to put this very bluntly, when passengers hear a strange noise on the plane, they turn to flight attendants to see what our reaction is, to see what our leadership is in the cabin, and to make sure that things are safe. And I want to make it very clear. Flight attendants will not fly with 1 pilot in the flight deck. It's that simple. This is not a safe situation. And the bottom line often drives people to reason out, come to conclusions that are not safe. But we put safety first, and we are not going to allow this to happen.
I got to tell you, that's exactly right. When I'm sitting on a plane and there is turbulence or anything that concerns me, the first thing I do is look at a flight attendant. If they seem at ease, they're still serving the drinks, they're still making their way around the cabin, then I settle. But if they seem a little stressed out, I get a little stressed out as well. Tell me specifically if you can provide any anecdotes about times of which you know a co-pilot has had to step in.
Well, yes. I know of specific instances where, much like the issue that you talked about in this opening, where one of the pilots has become incapacitated, a heart attack. We have had a situation where flight attendants saved the life of the captain, but he had to be taken out of the flight deck. Another flight attendant who had had some pilot lessons actually strapped in and assisted with landing that plane. We have situations where we've had very sad situations where one pilot has left the flight deck and another pilot has decided for whatever reason has not been in a good mental state, and we had lives lost. And we have situations where they are just trying to figure out what's going on, going through checklists. There are 2 human beings that are needed in that flight deck at all times. For those instances where something goes wrong, we had a situation on Flight 232 back in 1989 where a plane was only landed safely in a cornfield because an off-duty pilot, a 3rd pilot, came to the flight deck and helped when all hydraulics were lost. And through their own human strength, and their sheer willpower, they were able to land that plane and save more than half of the people on board. So it is absolutely unsafe to think about having only one pilot in the flight deck. We won't stand for it. You shouldn't stand for it either. And I want to be very clear. We're 80% organized in the airline industry. We have strong unions, the pilots and the flight attendants. And the pilots and the flight attendants, through our unions, are a strong voice in the regulatory process. And we are going to stand up for the passengers who are in our care, the rest of the traveling public, and everyone on the ground. And we're not going to allow this to happen.
Hey, Sarah, just quickly here, if this is not the solution, then what is? Because there is a staffing shortage and there is a pilot issue.
Well, the solution is what's happening right now, is contract bargaining that actually makes these good jobs again. It has been 20 years of concessions and austerity in the airline industry since 9/11, and we are in bargaining across the industry right now to lift the standards on these jobs, attract people to these jobs. We no longer have mothers and fathers telling their children, hey, this is a great profession. Go get trained in it. Come work in aviation. And we have to fix that. That's what we're working on right now. We're also working on making sure that these are jobs that are open to everyone, people of color, women, that there are scholarships that people can use to be able to get into these jobs. Those are the solutions that we need, not cutting corners on safety.
Sara Nelson, we thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.